Oh, good. Okay, thumbs up. Welcome everybody. My name's Adele Sliuzas. I'm the Visual Arts Curator here at the Mill. And welcome to Lucky and Meg for this great artist talk that we're going to be doing. I'd like to acknowledge that we're gathered here on the lands of the Kaurna people and pay respects to elders past and present.
Sorry about that.
Okay. It's so fantastic to be able to sit down here and share stories and talk about our culture as it continues, acknowledging that Kaurna people have been telling stories in this land for thousands and thousands of years. We'll keep tonight's artist talk pretty casual, so if you do need to get up and go to the loo or grab a drink, do feel welcome. We might hold questions to the end. I'm going to introduce these guys to you now. So Lucky Smith is a passionate expressionist painter from rural South Australia, now living and working in Adelaide. Lucky specialises in large-scale portraiture of pop culture personalities and surrealist scenes using oil and acrylics. He's an imaginative storyteller, learning foundations from John Colley's Afters screenwriting seminar and travelling to New York in 2022 to study story structure under screen and writing lecturer Robert McKee. He uses the storytelling principles to construct scenes in his artwork, which empathetically explore complex interpersonal exchanges and idiosyncratic social situations with recurring motifs such as anthropomorphized animals and retro pop culture. You can see it around us here. Meg Marder works predominantly with acrylic inks, gouache and pen to create vibrant illustrations of animals, still life and pop culture mashups. She has participated in many group exhibitions. Noteworthy are her duo exhibitions with collaborator Stu Nankiville, where she ventures into augmented reality, adding another layer to her works. In her solo exhibitions, Meg explores themes and narratives of her choice, including literary mashups and still life, allowing for unrestrained expression. A pivotal moment arrived when Meg was chosen for the Nebula program by Country Arts SA, offering her the chance to deepen her practice and build connections with fellow regional artists, which is actually where I met Meg and a few of you here tonight. Yeah. We're so stoked to be showing these two very vibrant and playful exhibitions alongside each other. So I think a great place to start would be for each of you to talk a little bit about the exhibition and the overarching themes in these bodies of work. So Lucky, if you can... Oh, hey, I've even written a little thing from your artist talk, from your artist statement, sorry. You write, Under 30s E3 is a visual representation of my comparative and anxious feelings towards turning 30 in the present day.
Yes.
Would you like to talk a bit more about that?
So in the process of kind of searching for a theme, well, I kind of started a couple of these paintings before I kind of figured out what the theme was, and it kind of sort of showed itself. But I'm not far off 30. I had to turn 28 recently. And I find kind of your late 20s, early 30s is quite a comparative age. It's an age where you kind of the different avenues your peers in high school and stuff took, they're like, oh, we stayed in our hometown and we had, got married, had kids, or it's like, oh, some people took a career-focused path in life, or some people did a trade and they run their own businesses. So and kind of around your late 20s, early 30s, that's when you start to see the fruits of what those different paths take in life. And recently, I think about five friends of mine, they've announced that they're having kids and things like that, and you kind of very much look at where you are in life. And I was recently reading one of my paintings. Depicts this Arctic explorer, Peter Freutchen, and he was in the third expedition to the North Pole, and he lived a very amazing life. He was part of the first medical teams that rehabilitated someone who was brain dead. He was this dockyard worker came into the hospital when some kind of blunt force trauma to the head from a steel beam or something, and this is in the early 1900s, and it's by all accounts they would have declared him medically dead. But they saw he was still breathing, and then they kind of, over about a 6-month period, they got him walking and talking again. And then he went to the North Pole, and very severe conditions, he was literally being attacked by coyotes and wolves, fending them off. He was socially isolated for 9 months while he mapped weather conditions, and then he married he was Danish, he married an Inuit woman, which at the time was very taboo to have a sort of mixed race family, and he did all of this before turning 30. So it's and to kind of like in a odd contrast, while I was reading this book, my mum gave me a call, and she's just having a bit of a chat, and then she told me, she was like, oh, by the way, Booper called, and you can stay on the family plan till you're 32. And I was like, I feel this is a good where we are in life, just with, maybe just like kind of like mollycoddling, like people longer and longer and longer, because you go to the book, Peter Freuchen was probably in his early 20s, a great amount of responsibility, and then you've also got, Booper going like, hey, you're still a child till you're 32. And then I was also like working in an accounting firm as well, and same thing, like I work in the film industry as well. And I recently finished on this show Territory, and Territory is very, the position I was in, you've got a lot of responsibility. The film industry is very unforgiving. Like little mistakes will get you fired and things like that. So and this was during the SAG writer and actor strikes. So there were very, lots of non-disclosure agreements, very, very real legal threat if any of that got leaked. So signed this watertight stuff, and then I got this job at an accounting firm, and it's like how they train people up there is they have. I will end shortly, I promise. How they kind of train people up is they have the most senior junior train the most junior, and the guy I got paired with is really bad communicator, and he was, I felt a bit hostile, like you ask him questions and he's like, what? And so I thought, whatever, I'll figure it out myself, I'll come in early and leave late. So I asked them, I was like, oh, can I have like the security code for the door? And they're like, oh, we like people to work here for like 2 years before we give those out. I'm like, I've got all this history, like I'm trying to run, let me run. But yeah, so yeah, that was the inspiration for Under 30s Eat Free, which is kind of and the title is a play on like you go to the pub and it will have these banners like kids under 12 eat free, so it's kind of a play on that.
Yeah, great. Yeah. So Meg, in your artist statement, you wrote that pattern disproportion uses the altered scales to introduce a sense of surrealism, inviting viewers to see everyday objects in new and unexpected ways. Patterns within each disproportionate room add depth and rhythm, framing each scene with a distinct narrative context. I wonder if you could speak a little bit about where the idea for pattern disproportion came from.
Okay, well, the idea actually came from the frog you can see back there. It was a gift from my mum for Christmas, and it's a little martial arts frog, and it was an encouragement gift because I'm nearly at getting my black belt, and so he was like, keep going, you can do it. So, because I'm a brown belt with a black stripe, and I was like, nah, that's kind of high enough. It's really hard to actually get to the next step. So she gave me this gift, and then I was looking at it, I was like, oh, it's really cute. I could just imagine it in this little dojo and fighting, and then because I like corny humour, I thought, oh, I'm going to buy a little cactus for it. So I put it down with a little cactus, your cactus, and then so I thought I'll make it a little room, so I painted it. It's like couldn't just have it on the shelf, I had to paint it. So I made a little dojo and put the lotus mural in the background, the checkerboard floor, and it was just like this disproportionate room. The room fitted the frog, but the cactus was real size, and so it was all that play, and I loved doing the patterns. So that was the first one. I thought, actually, this is really fun. I'm going to make some more rooms. So I started looking for little objects, and I just kept looking at them and thought, okay, what story do you have? And because I'm a little bit crazy, I talk to them. What are you going to do then? And I never really grew up, so I'm sorry, it doesn't always happen. So that was the first part of it. So that's why I started making the rooms. And then I just decided to have patterns as an overarching theme. So you'll see patterns in all of the works. Although I do have a few series within the exhibition. For example, the Art Deco rooms, that was because I found some gold leaf that belonged to my dad. He passed away about a decade ago, and it was just a lovely little find. It's like, oh, I need to use this in something special. What's really special? Oh, a nice little room with some golden ornaments or something. So I made one, and then I was like, I've got to keep going, and then I just started imagining them as a doll's house. Also part of the disproportionate thing is you'll notice all of the flooring seems quite flat. It doesn't have the right angle that it should have. I did that on purpose. I wanted sort of that illustrated storybook feel. And yeah, so everything has a little bit of humour. If you look at the titles, they're all a bit corny. Because that's how I am. I'm not a very sophisticated person. And there's also a few different layers. If you look at the augmented reality, that just adds a little bit of extra spark, I guess.
Yeah, so there's a couple of series in the exhibition that have the augmented reality, and if you have a look at the floor sheet, you can see which ones they are, and let me know if you need help to find that out. Very cool. So storytelling is at the heart of both of your practices, and I wanted to ask a little bit about the process that you each use when you're ideating and forming the seeds for work, and then how that develops through the process of making it. So, Keith, did you want to talk a little bit about that?
With this my first exhibition, I wanted to. It was kind of a collection of work. So this one, I really wanted to have some kind of threaded theme throughout it. And I was watching this interview with Billy Connolly, the comedian, and he was talking about where do you get inspiration from life, and also like separately, this special effects coordinator I was working with. He gave me a call one day and he said, "Oh mate, love your paintings, they're fantastic." He's like, "But I think you need to like knock it off with this metaphorical, interpretive stuff." He's like, "You should paint some actual things from your life." And he gave the example of we were shooting this TV show, The Tourist, in Hawker, and I was, and it's very very rural country town, and I had this pink boiler suit, and I told the guys about it. And they said, "Oh, you should wear that to the pub." So I wore it to the pub. And I walked in, it was like, and it was one of those moments. It's like I walked in, everyone kind of looked at me because that is just such an anomaly. But yeah, like a lot of heads turned, and like this special effects coordinator was like, I didn't know if they were gonna like laugh at you or punch your head in. But and he said he's like, "You need to paint that." So it's like often sort of a few of these, it's like, okay, what's something that's been going on in my life? What are some interesting stories I have? Or something that speaks to me. So that's kind of the initial thought. So the first one I did in this was the panda painting. This one was about my sort of first significant relationship. So it's but it's like you kind of get like little nuggets of paintings here and there, and you sort of structure them. So this one's painting's called "You Can't Get a Root with a Runny Nose," and which was a line I heard at the Caledonian Inn in Rogue. It's like we were sitting upstairs, and like one of the guys kept sniffing, and he's like, "I'm just going to go to the bathroom quickly," and one of his friends said, "It's like good plan, can't get a root with a runny nose." So, but that's kind of, I guess, like kind of what introduced sort of maybe like the sexual element of this painting. It's kind of, and then I was just like, well, what's this painting about? And I kind of had a little, I don't know, I think probably I got root from, that's how I got to panda. So, because there's that expression, it's a web of thoughts, and they somehow all kind of come together. It's there's that expression like it's like a grammar expression. It's like, what does a panda do? It eats roots and leaves, and so I think that was how I got to panda. I had the idea of the panda, and he was like getting out of bed, and I thought like, oh, having a mum panda about to flick a light on, and then you kind of and then yeah, so it kind of came, and then I had the idea of this like blonde person under the bed, and then that's kind of what's linked. I think I sort of had like just reconnected with like this first significant girlfriend I had, so that was, and then I was like, it kind of became a metaphor for the kind of falling of a seemingly perfect relationship. So this one was kind of like with this relationship, it was like both of our kind of first significant relationship, and we really prided ourselves on, we've never had a fight, and kind of locally you know, we felt we were perceived as some sort of power couple. And it's just like, you know, oh, like Lockie and Jamie, they're like a really nice, cute pair. And then like kind of as you go, like this was nearly a 2-year relationship, and kind of like the more, you know, the longer the relationship went, the more that pressure of trying to not break the having a fight thing, and these little cracks formed. And so this is kind of what this painting is about. And you know, there's various forms of like adultery happening. She kind of dealt with the issues of the relationship and the kind of disconnect by finding, you know, she sought that comfort outside of the relationship, and then I dealt with it by like watching pornography, that kind of thing. So that's the person under the bed is an allegory for, you know, kind of adultery and sort of, yeah, there's sort of imminent exposure of like the mum about to turn the lights on this room. Yeah.
What's behind the panda?
Behind the panda, a lady lying on the bed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that, you know, for many people walking into the gallery, they definitely wouldn't understand the level of complexity of what's happening in that painting, and I think it's one of the ones in the room that can be a little bit confronting and unexpected.
Yeah.
But knowing the story behind it, it's so relatable, isn't it? We've all been in a relationship where things have not gone, or like we thought we were doing great and maybe we weren't, or like, yeah, we've all been busted.
Yeah.
By a parent.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, thank you so much for sharing about that. We'll get a chance later on to maybe look into a couple of other works as well. Meg, you've already talked us through how you developed the story that was in the initial artwork, the frog, but would you like to talk about a different one? You can choose.
Okay.
Did you prepare something?
No, I didn't prepare. Okay, so I'll probably talk about, in the foyer, I've got some larger works there. One of them is of my mum. So it's the very 70s looking piece, if anyone has looked in the foyer. So there's my mum. It's like I wanted to do a snapshot in time of my mum, of her in the 70s. So she was in her 20s. She had 3 young children, married to an artist who would work on and off, but he was painting in the background. So my mum was like the heart of the family. She was the breadwinner, she looked after us, she would keep the house together. So it's called the heart, because she's the heart of the family. So I used a lot of, I guess, Easter eggs throughout the painting to tell the story. So the bookshelf is full of her favourite books, a lot of books that I now have, but things that were always on her bookshelf as kids. On the TV is her favourite show at the time, so the Sullivans is playing. She was a nurse, so on the table there's a nurse's cap. There's also a story about she wanted to rent a TV back then, and this was the 70s, no one would rent her a TV because she was a woman. Wow. And she was like, but I'm the breadwinner, I make the money, nothing to do with my husband. And so she traipsed through Melbourne, store up, until she found somebody who would rent her the TV. So on the table I've got a little rental agreement with one crossed out because that's the spouse, and then so she got to sign for the TV, so we got a TV. And that was just, it was just so my mum. She's such a strong-willed person and a go-getter, and she won't take shit, basically. All of my teachers through school hated her because she would march in there and just she's a tiny lady, so that's one part of it, trying to prove herself. But she's a real inspiration to me and my mum, so I'll do a painting of my mum. But in the artwork, there's also, with my dad in the background, one of his paintings is on the wall, so I recreated that, and just a few items that I still have, which are heirlooms through the house. So that's how that was my favourite early storytelling.
Yeah, beautiful, thank you. We always love to share a little bit about artist process as well when we have these talks. So I wondered if you could each talk a little bit more about your material perspective. Lucky, I'll start with you again. You've been pushing your practice into using some oil as well as the acrylic, so maybe you could have a little bit of a chat about what has made you make that leap into some different materiality and how you use it as a device within the works.
Yeah. So my style's kind of, it's somewhat kind of basic to kind of break down. There's kind of a 2 or 3 tone background I've started kind of exploring a bit more of different, usually they're all sort of within one colour family. So like with this Christmas painting, they're all kind of reds, lots of oranges, sort of oranges here as well. And I'm kind of introducing a bit of other kind of colour families, so like a bit of burgundy, this kind of painting up here that's got like bits of green and yellow in it, and so that's what the background's made up of, and it's quite a simple design, because often the front of the painting is a bit more like the subject matter is more complex in terms of its construction. So and what I used to purely use acrylic. For the backgrounds I just use like house paint, and I did that for a very long time, and I kind of like finessed how the subjects look, and then I kind of felt I hit a ceiling on where I could go using the acrylics, because I quite like my style, and like I didn't kind of want to tamper with it by maybe like I tried it before, like doing shading and things like that, and it didn't really work using the acrylic. And then one of my big influences, or like artists I admire, is Ben Quilty, and I love how he lays on oil paint really thick, and I wanted to give that a go. So I was like, I want to try out oil paint. I'd never tried it before, so I got a couple of tubes from the paint shop, and the gummy bears here were kind of the first things I tried out with the oil paint. I was like, I just need kind of something simple, and another artist I really like, Noel Fielding, this is a similar practice is how he kind of does concepts of his paintings. He'll get like oil pastel crayons, and he'll just do it on black card, and so I was like, I'll give that a try with oil paint. So that's kind of how I started playing with it. But I really wanted to keep that, laying it on thick, because I felt my artwork was missing texture. So I started playing with the oil paints, and the Panda one's the first one I did using oil paints on a canvas. So that was kind of the process. But I feel like the texture definitely adds to the painting, and the contrast of oil and acrylic really helps the subject matter like pop off the painting as well.
Meg, I wondered if you could speak a little bit about the way that you use the gouache and the board in your scenes, and then also talking about the augmented reality and taking them into the digital realm.
Okay. So I recently discovered painting on boards with the gouache. I started off with just the bare boards and experimented, and the colour really pops with the wood behind it and gives that really warm feel. Because it is gouache, I do also do a spray varnish over the top, so you need to, then you're due to damage it. And so that's been a lot of fun, because some colours really pop straight away, some need a lot of layers. But I did some of those, added watercolour ground, but I just loved still to paint on the wood. It's a nice firm surface rather than a canvas, which is very easy to warp. And now I find it really hard to go back to paper. I used to always paint on paper, and it's like, paper's dead to me. So I just love the wooden boards. Now the augmented reality, I have a very, very clever friend called Stu Nakerville, so it's not me at all. I just give him a brief of what I would like. I give him the image, and he breaks it down into layers, and then he does all this beautiful magic and makes things move and fills in the background. I don't know what he does. But I tell him the music I would like, or the sounds I'd like, and what I'd like the images to do. So I don't need to learn it myself. Good friends.
Yeah, that's great. Do you think that has it inspired you, knowing that you can do this digital augmented reality?
Yes, it's been, and sometimes when I'm painting an artwork, I think that this one is also going to have the extra layer, so I painted with that in mind. But you'll notice not everything has the augmented reality on it, and I thought some of the artworks can just speak for themselves. The animal series over there, they're quite, well, they're almost like mug shots, but with the patterns to tell part of the story and their clothing. But I thought they would just be fun as cute little animals actually moving, and the pop culture ones at the background, they obviously have a bit of sound and a bit of movement. It just brought that extra layer. So,
cool, thank you. I have said to the artists that we can drill down into a couple of artworks and their meaning in the story, but I actually thought I'd put it to the audience to see if there's any particular artworks that you'd like to hear about. So does anyone have one of Lucky's works? Yeah, okay.
Just say.
Just say, yeah. I think the two very prominent ones are the panda penis and the lady birthing a cat. So just the deep inhale. So this painting's so my last relationship was with a woman who was older than me. So she was we had a 25-year age gap between us, and it was scandalous, yes. But it's I feel like that was one of the most rewarding relationships I've ever been in. It's like and it was like largely very functional. We got along really well, and we very much were like each other's person. But kind of like the question that kept occurring around us was like, because this person was she was like 54, and everyone was like, what are you going to do when Lucky wants kids? And we kind of you sort of play these kind of scenarios out to go like, oh, maybe we could do like a surrogate or an egg donor or things like that, and trying to find ways to make it work. This lady I was dating, she was like, she's got a house by the beach, so we often like went to the beach and spent lots of time at the beach there. And like she said to me, she's like, she's like, I would do anything for you, but I just can't do this for you. And it's so that's kind of, and so that's kind of, and part of that was she was like highly allergic to cats, and part of that, and I absolutely I adore cats, and it was and she said, I can give you all the cats in the world, but I can't give you a child. So she was like, is that fair compensation? And and then like one time she was telling me about a dream she had, and she said, I was on the beach, and she said like we were at the beach and there were like all these like cats running around. She said I was trying to like pick up the different cats and put them in boxes according to what she deemed the most valuable ones. So and she said specifically, she said there were 2 purple ones and a fat black one that she said were she said she believed were the most valuable. And so the idea of the like the sign falling off, the numbers are largely arbitrary, which is very bad to do as an artist. But the idea of like the sign falling off is kind of like, what is the sort of like price of our dreams and goals in life? So it's like what is the actual worth? Yeah. So that's what that painting's about.
Did she dream that she was giving birth to a cat?
No.
Oh.
that was artistic license. I was like, where are the cats coming from, I guess. Yeah.
And who is it with the hat on?
That is kind of a version of me. The person sitting there
With a
like,
cat.
with a cat. And the cat on my lap is that's my cat Mawson. So yes.
Does anybody want to pick one of Meg's works to talk about? Go on, Jen, go on, Jen.
Okay, the group that I know they're all based on movies.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Could you talk about what movies you chose, etc.?
Okay. So the reason I chose, so there's Cap and Kim, there's the IT Crowd, The Shining, and Shaun of the Dead. So the reason I chose those ones is not only because I really enjoyed them, but in my family, these are all things that we watch together and find absolutely hilarious. And so there's a lot of in-jokes and quotes. And it was one of those, if I paint them, it doesn't matter if they sell or not, because we will enjoy them as a family. And I just had so much fun painting them. So especially the Kath and Kim one, because I know some people just can't stand Kath and Kim. But I just think they're hilarious, and just picturing them as dogs instead of people. It was I just had a lot of fun with that one. So, but it's mainly family focused, I would say, just purely because they're enjoyed in our family.
they're going straight to the pool room.
So I should do a castle one, yeah.
Yeah, and the Shining one, when you look at the animation, the dog turns. Yeah, you tell me, sorry.
So in The Shining, I don't know. So some people might have watched the movie, some people might have read the book. So it's room 217 in the book is the room that has the lady in the bath and everything. In the movie, it's room 237. So I've put both the door numbers in the painting just to satisfy everybody. But the story behind that is the place where it was being filmed, they didn't want the room 217 not ever to be booked again. So they said make up a room number, so they made up room 237. But it turns out that people stay there all the time and book 217. So they didn't actually do that at all. So the dog in the animation is actually looking from side to side because it's like, which door am I going into?
We probably have time to do one more from each of them, so does anybody else want to share? Choose one of Lucky's works.
You mentioned once to me that you use Porter's paint. Why did you use that? Because they're very specific colours in Porter.
They are. But my cousin is he's a painter by trade, and I was kind of just picking any kind of paints from Bunnings. I'm just like, oh, I like this colour, I like this colour, and I was using some British paints, and like the brand British paints, and my cousin said to me, he's like, you need to stop using them. I'm like, why do I need to stop using them? And he said, it's one of those. It's like, if you know, you know, but if you don't know, you don't know. And he said, people that recognise that those are British paints are going to acknowledge that this is cheap material. British paints is like the most cheapest house paint you can buy, like the most affordable. And he said, so you need to start. He's like, you should be using some high quality ones, so like Dulux. And Porter's paint is very much a premium one, but it's also, you know, ultimately I picked the paint that is going to best serve the painting. But quite a few of these are using Porters. The Christmas one uses Porters, the kind of nice maroon colour. Red is actually a really hard colour to paint, especially with the background, because it can become quite aggressive on the, like a bit of an assault on the eyes. So with this one, I originally did the background in the lighter paint you see, the lighter red. It's called Hot Rod Red, and Paint the Town it's called. And I did that, and I looked at it and I kind of, that's harsh on the eyes. And I was like, I need something a bit more subtle, so I went back to Bunnings and I found this like nice maroon colour from Porter's, and I picked that, and it's a really nice, like high quality paint. Same with the Peter Freutchen one, that the grey is Porter's. But yeah, it's sort of just about the quality of material is why I picked Porter's
Rather
paint.
than the colour itself.
It's a bit of both.
Bit of both.
Bit of both. So it's like if I can, when I'm thinking of a painting, I'm kind of thinking about the prominent colours that are going to be in it.
Yeah.
So, and say for this maroon one, I was like, I want it to be red. I wanted it to feel warm.
Yeah.
So I went and like, I'll go to the Porter section, have a look at what they have, and if they have a paint that I feel will serve the painting well, I'll pick that. But if not, I'll kind of maybe move over to like Dulux, because they've got a broader range. Because Porter's is quite limited. They've got quite a short, like something like maybe 12 different colours. But yeah, so that's kind of the process of why Porter's or possibly Dulux. I don't buy British anymore, and I try not use Taubmans. I find Taubmans is quite a thin paint, so it's I think this kind of like light orange is done using Taubmans, and it takes so many layers. It's like something, so say like Dulux, you might, if I'm doing a background, like let's say like a dark orange, that'll be like 3 layers of paint, and then this lighter orange, because it's so thin, it's more like 7 to 9. So and especially it's like, if I want to get rid of a bit, cover up a bit of the dark maroon, it's even more so. Yes, and so that's kind of the but yeah, obviously the high quality of the paint, the thicker it's going to be as well.
Yeah, and the Porter's paints are quite easy on the eye.
They are.
And there's a sort of softness to the
Yeah.
colours, so that they don't jar you like that red you started off with.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dulux is something that I use a lot for the
Yeah.
outdoor painting
Yeah.
because it's better than anything else.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Did anyone want to choose another one of Meg's works to have a little deep dive into?
I loved is it a crocodile or an alligator?
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you want to know the story behind
Yes,
it?
please.
Okay. So I have a friend of mine, and she discovered this little abandoned crocodile toy in just a car park. And so she rescued it, took it home and actually coloured it in with a Posca pen, and then put it on the dash of her car and would drive it around town, basically. And she loaned it to me to put into a painting. And I said, well, what's the story behind it? And she said, well, it's kind of like a rags to riches thing. So found him in the gutter, but now he's living the high life. He gets chauffeured around. And then she said, I feel like there's a bit of a Parisienne feel. And he's into Salvador Dali. And so then she just went off on this big rant. So I thought I would try to tell the story of this lovely little crocodile that was found in the gutter, but now he lives in this little Parisian apartment. And there's a picture of Salvador Dali as a crocodile on the wall. Yeah, so, and of course, he's got his croissant there. Yeah, it's just the French lavender out the window, and I was just so that was trying to make this lovely little story for it. It was very cute. I had to give him back.
Immortalised.
Yes.
Great. Cool. Okay. For fun, because we've got both artists exhibiting with us tonight, I thought that we might. I would ask them to each look at their own exhibition through the lens of the other exhibition. So Meg writes in her artist statement that the exhibition encourages a closer look at the ordinary and rethinking of scale and an interactive encounter with past and present woven together. So I wanted to challenge Lucky to think about this exhibition through that lens of examining the ordinary.
I think I feel the exhibition is, like my exhibition does, it touches on the ordinary in a different way. So like, turning 30 is an ordinary experience. It's something, hopefully all of us do. So and I think a lot of the experiences are universal. Things like, let's say the case of Peter Freudchen paintings, like comparing yourself to like the generations before you. That's like a very ordinary thing. Your parents will go, back in my day, and or things like playing with the idea of like, oh, do I want kids? What do I want to prioritize in my life? Or the idea like dating is a very ordinary thing, which the Easter Island painting's about, and a lot of the and kind of the So I feel there's like lots of there's a lot of ordinary in it, just dressed with kind of my unique lived experiences.
Extraordinary moments.
Yes.
Yeah, maybe this painting as well is an example of that, where it's the ordinary experience of going to a New Year's Eve party, except it wasn't a normal, ordinary New Year's Eve party, and you felt like a chimp.
Yes. Yes. This is kind of a painting of what could have been.
Is that the story you said before about you wearing that pink outfit?
Separate incident for me wearing a pink
Same boiler suit?
Same boiler suit, different experience. This one was my most recent girlfriend. She's we were going to go to our first New Year's Eve party as a couple, and we were going to some of her friends' house, and for me, like, New Year's Eve it's kind of like an important holiday. It's like I felt like I had quite a protected kind of like adolescence, like I wasn't really allowed to go to parties, that kind of thing. So kind of as a adult, I felt it very important to go to New Year's Eve parties and make plans and that kind of thing. And my cousin and I, we'd thought about this, back in July. We were like, what are we doing for New Year's Eve? And him and I we were walking around Ebenezer Place, and we found this shop that's selling these boiler suits. So I bought a bright pink one, and he brought a matching navy blue one. And we were like, oh, we'll wear these to the New Year's Eve party. And we had that locked in our brains since July. It's like, this is what we're going to do. So I rolled around, and my girlfriend's like, oh, we're going to this party. and I came out in the pink boiler suit, and she went, "You can't wear that." And I went, "Well, why not?" And she's like, "You just can't. There's like important people there. You can't wear that." And I was like, "It's like whatever. It's your friends. It doesn't matter." It's like it's like I'm trying to be my authentic self. And we had quite a tiff about it. And she kind of put an ultimatum on me. She's like, "Either change and you can come to the party, or keep wearing that and you can go do your own thing, but you're not coming to the party." So, and I was like, "Sure, whatever." So I had to think about it. I'm like, "No, I'll go change." So I went and changed and wandered over to the party. She went ahead of me. And I rocked up at the party, and what she didn't tell me is that this party was full of like oligarchs. So one of the people at this party is in the top 50 richest people in Australia. So it's, very important, very powerful, very wealthy people at this party. And, like there's, people that, stock manage for like the top banks in Australia and, all very important people. And I kind of had this moment going like, I don't know if she stressed this to me. It's like, was I so blind to wanting to wear that boiler suit that I just didn't hear the reason? Or did she not tell me? It's like, I don't really remember. But this is kind of what could have been, like, rocking up in the pink boiler suit. And it's like, it would have been like a novelty to these people, but it's like there wouldn't be a connection. Because they'd be going, "Oh, that's kind of funny, the boyfriend's wearing this pink boiler suit." But it's like I rocked up and I had these like quite in-depth conversations with people and got to mingle with them as well. So so this painting's like what could have been, rocking up in the pink boiler suit and feeling like a chimp, and like as they like reel in horror at my apishness.
Yes, but secretly you did want to do it, didn't you?
Part of my brain wanted to, yeah. No, when I rocked up and I wasn't, I was relieved. I'm like, okay, no, I made a good choice today.
It's wonderful to be able to like have that imaginative journey of what could have been,
Yes.
which would have also been amazing to watch.
Yes, I know.
So Lucky says that in the creation of these artworks, the creation of these artworks journals your epiphany into what you believe adulthood is. Quoting the old adage, "If you want to be treated like an adult, you have to behave like an adult." And I thought that was something that Meg could respond to a bit in terms of how the characters in your work behave, or maybe not doing what we might expect them to do. There's, cute little dogs, doing things that maybe you wouldn't expect a cute dog to do.
Okay, so for example, with the augmented reality animals over there, so you might notice all the patterns actually are meant to suit the era. That's part of the storytelling. But the augmented reality just shows, so rather than just a cute little cat sitting there, then she's like sort of jiving away, so she behaves a bit different. But also, so V for Victory, like I said, corny titles. She is a hard-working little puppy dog in the 40s, and so she's also challenging societal norms, what women are supposed to be doing. So she's doing the men's job, and then we go into like the Stepford Wives looking one, and she's definitely doing what is expected of her in the 50s, but when you look at the animation, she's actually the robot from like Stepford Wives. She's got money coming out of her mouth. And the 60s one, Fetch Me Equality, so she just wants equal rights for women, but she's just a cute little puppy dog. So that's sort of, I guess the behaviour, there's a little bit more to them than first glance.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. Whereas maybe there's not so much more to these blokes in their puppy jackets playing Pokemon cards. No. They are exactly as
that.
you can see them.
Yeah. Because sometimes people under 30 suck. So they're just like, why are you playing Pokemon when you should be working? That's kind of what this painting is. Yeah.
Yeah, there's lots of places that these characters can take us, and I think it's so fun, and it's been such a pleasure to have these two exhibitions. So thank you both very much. Does anybody have any questions, general questions?
Yes. Who's the one drawing at the back?
The one drowning.
Drowning, sorry,
yeah. That's kind of like allegory for like a kind of escaping opportunity. So like the young, one is one is running out to save this this lady who's sort of allegory for sort of escaping opportunity, whereas like the character's sitting and looking at the lady with the cats. It's kind of like possibly focusing on the wrong thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So do I focus on what I have now, or do I lose opportunity?
Yes.
Opportunity.
Yeah, because it kind of with turning 30 is it's the dating pool is getting shallow. So so it's do you disagree with?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All my 60-year-old friends would disagree with you.
Yeah. But it's like a lot of trying to meet girls your own age and you're having a chat to them and they're like, oh, I've got a boyfriend, or I'm married, or things like that. So it's it becomes more of a game of who's single. Yeah.
There is.
I thought there was a man drought like that.
A man drought, no?
Yeah, I thought there was a shortage of men.
Yeah.
Oh,
There
the
was
man
supposed to
drought.
be,
Yeah.
man drought.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, for sure.
There's not a real man drought, it's just no one wants to date men who play Pokemon.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Or has a runny nose.
Yeah.
Or who picks their nose.
Maybe it just is you.
I'm wondering, Meg, I love how you capture the spirit of the person, like on the TV show Cat and Kim. Like they just look like them. But how do you pick if it's a dog or a cat? Or how do you get there?
I think when I don't know, I probably started with Kath because she's got her curly hair and that just screamed poodle.
So you see it before.
And so then it was, so that's how I chose that one. And the long floppy ears of the other dog was like the long flicky hair. So that's, so it's, sometimes I just watch the show or whatever and I just think, oh, a little bit of a dog. But with the other ones, with the animals, so they weren't necessarily characters, so I could just create my own character. So for the 20s, the cat seemed more elegant than a dog and things like that. But with the other ones, so the IT crowd, so the cats and dogs.
Just like the IT crowd, I can't. My mind just goes around.
We love you.
Well done.
And real binary code as well.
Yes, so because everything's a pattern, and I was trying to work out what kind of a geeky pattern can I do in the background, and then I thought, oh, well, binary code, obviously. So I looked up, I converted the IT crowd into binary code, and then I painted that, so it says the IT crowd. And so Lucky has a friend called Lockie who had just learnt binary code, like how to read it. So he confirmed that I got it right.
So you just have to cater for like that one person in the crowd.
Yes, I was saying to my kids, there's going to be one person that will come along, and there was, and I got it right. So that's good.
He was so excited when he came up to me. He was like, oh, it says the IT crowd.
Very cool. Any more questions? Otherwise, we might wrap up the chat, and you're also welcome to go and look at the film that we have screening as well, which is called Project Forward. It's an international compilation with 32 artists from all around the world, and it's showing all around the world as well, like today and tomorrow. We've just got it's been showing